They had editorials against cold fusion, that statement about mockery, arrogance, incredible. I don't think they will survive, frankly. Quite frankly, I don't really care whether they survive. I just want the label, the albatross around them, and it will be around them forever, that they mocked this. And by the way, even if cold fusion were wrong by some unbelievable circumstance by which every single experiment done in different areas is all completely wrong, it's still wrong what they did. It's still wrong. Even if cold fusion doesn't exist, which is impossible for me to imagine at least, although it's theoretically possible for everything to be a mistake. It is theoretically possible. Very unlikely.
Chances now are very small.
They're essentially zero, okay? But I'll grant there is some theoretical possibility, remote as that may seem.
Oh, I mean, as big as you tunneling out of this, you know, by quantum mechanics out of this.
Let me make as an expert on journalistic
I know what
corruption.
let me predict first.
Let me make a prediction.
Predict what they're going to do.
Nature, if it comes out 100% for cold fusion, will end up saying we were right all along and you were wrong.
You're absolutely correct.
And they will survive
Right.
and you will not.
Right, no, I will survive.
Well,
But the point is,
okay.
because I have documented when I had my opinion, and they don't have documented when they had their opinion. But they are going to say, I predict, and I'm going to write a manifesto somewhere and circulate it to all of them, saying, don't you dare say that Pons and Fleischmann and Eugene Mallove and everyone else in this field made it so difficult for you to understand what was going on by their secretiveness and so forth, that it was hard to see. And if it hadn't been for all their shenanigans, and if they had been more open and so forth, we would have gotten to the bottom of it. Don't say that, Lindley. Don't say it, Maddox, because we're not going to believe it. And that goes for all the others that are killing it, too. We've probably rattled on enough. Are there any other questions? Yes?
Just about the Takahashi work that you were talking about, I didn't catch whether, has it been published or...
Okay, he wrote up papers, he circulated it all over, notes. They're relatively crude. They're good enough to do an experiment from. He has talked to the scientific American people in Japan and to many other people. He's made a number of presentations at meetings like the ISEM meeting in Japan in this year, January 27th. But he hasn't formally, it's not in a formal peer-reviewed journal. It's true, it isn't. By the way, that whole issue of peer review is completely destroyed now, for probably forever. Because we now know, if we didn't know, we should have known before, that each journal has its own standards of peer review. I mean, publishing in Nature obviously is far different than publishing in Journal of Electroanalytical Chemistry and Journal of Fusion Technology. Each one is a separate standard. And if I follow McCutcheon's, I like McCutcheon's philosophy, which I developed in parallel, which is basically put in almost anything within reason into a journal and have someone comment in parallel on the topic. And let it all hang out. That way the whole scientific community gets to see both sides of the issue. Why should some journalist like Lindley, who obviously doesn't know his one anatomical part from another, why should he be in the loop deciding? Do you realize that there was a whole chain of correspondence, at least a dozen letters between Noninsky and Lewis at Caltech, and Lindley, Lewis, and Noninsky, over the issue of the errors in Lewis's results. And Lindley said at one point in one of these letters, he said, now I cannot tell the difference between who is right, you or Lewis. And so you would think that as a good editor, one would at that point immediately publish both letters. Publish Noninsky's critique of Lewis's earlier published work in Nature, and publish Lewis's rebuttal. But that has not been done. This is a disgrace and an outrage, and it's just totally anti-scientific. The only thing that can explain that, there's only one thing, and that's arrogance. Arrogance on the part of Lindley, that he's not going to publish something that pulls down even a little bit one of the main pillars of cold fusion attack. By the way, this is apocryphal, but I'm sure it's true, because it fits right in with the pattern of Lewis. Lewis is alleged to be boasting, he boasts to people about the labs that, you can really tell a good lab by how fast they dismiss the cold fusion. Can you believe that? You can really tell a good lab by how fast. Well, he's going to be dismissed completely from existence in the scientific world. Yes?